Very serious about not parking on their grass. When you arrive at camp, we will have check-in tables kind of right at the entrance in front of the cafeteria, and they can check in and get their lanyards and all that kind of stuff. You can drop their camp chairs, because that's where the camp chairs are going to stay for the week, and then you can drive your car to your cabin, and the YCLs will escort you there, and you can unload all their stuff. Once everything's all unloaded, they'll ask you to come back and park by the chapel, and then leave your car there for the rest of the week. So just try to stay on the road and don't go onto their grass. They don't ask for much. That's one of the things that they ask for. The schedules and everything is subject to change, so you will get a map of the campsite with everything labeled on it, and your job assignments and your schedule on the first day with everything in it in your packet on the very first day. I will go over like a quick outline so you kind of have an idea of what you might be doing. But this is to be kept secret from the girls, because it's, number one, it's just more fun. And number two, if you say, everybody get on your swimsuit, we're going to the pool, then everybody gets in their swimsuit and goes to the pool. If you tell them 3 weeks beforehand, they have 3 weeks to prepare the excuse about why they can't go to the pool. And so if we just do it kind of impromptu, it's much less whining. Sorry. That's just the truth. I have 3 girls, so I know. So we kind of keep the schedule to ourselves. Of course, the YCLs know all about it, and they are blabbermouths, so most of it's been leaked. But they, each night you will have word time where the YCLs will be in charge of your girls, and you will come to the state cabin and have a leader meeting. At the end of that meeting, you can go back and the YCLs will do a devotional. In the past, they've done the devotional while you're at the meeting, but I know it's fun to listen to them, and they really, really, really wanted ward time with their girls. So we're gonna do the devotional when you get back, and then they do the devotional, and then you send the YCLs back to the YCL cabin, and it's your battle for lights out. The first night, we're gonna have a lip sync battle, and that's gonna all be done at camp. There's nothing that needs to be prepared ahead of time. Because we really just have the evening on Wednesday. By the time we get there, we settled in, we kick off and get their assignments and have dinner, then we just have our lip sync battle, and then we have a guest speaker on Tuesday night coming, and that will be Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, we're having a scavenger hunt. That is a very ambitious project that the YCLs have planned, and so we will need a lot of help from the leaders on that, and we'll talk about it Tuesday night, because it will just be easier to kind of talk about it and assign it Tuesday night, and then we'll need your help with that Wednesday morning. We will have a little bit of time Wednesday to practice your Singing for the Stars song. I still have a couple of words that haven't picked their song, but most everybody has. So if you haven't had a lot of time to go over it, that's fine. We're going to have a little bit of time to do that on Wednesday. And on Wednesday evening is when we're kind of having a lot of special activities. It's when we're going to do our Singing to the Stars, and we're going to do an activity called Sensing Christ, which will be a very reverent activity, and we will need everybody's help at that activity as well, but we're going to be doing it as a group. If I could ask you guys to talk to your girls about good manners for the guest speaker. In the past, we've had a lot of problems with the girls, getting up, going to the restroom, laying down on the floor, just stuff like that. The speaker has come from another state, and she's driving here to speak to us for free. And the girls are all old enough to know how to sit and listen for a 45-minute speaker to talk to us. So I will remind the girls. I'm reminding the YCLs to be in charge of their girls, but if I could get y'all's help with that as well. Just making sure if you see somebody, talk to them, sit up, listen, pay attention, that kind of thing. So, they get tired, they're hot, all that kind of stuff. But when in the evening, they'll know that we're having a speaker, and they'll have time to go to the restroom. They'll have time to do what they need to do before we sit down and listen. Wednesday, we will all be going to the pool, and there will be girls that do not want to go to the pool. And they don't have to get in the water. They don't have to swim. I will have a bag of nail polish that they can polish their nails or polish their toes. They can sit on the edge and put their feet in. That's fine. But on Wednesday, everybody's going to go to the pool. On Thursday, they're going to have a lot of options to choose from, and they get to pick their classes. They'll have 3 or 4 choices each hour to pick from, and so they won't have to go to the pool on Thursday. So it's just the one time where they have to all go and be with their group. And then that's Thursday afternoon, and then Thursday night is our Bishop's Night, and we'll have an activity with them all together, and then we'll break out to testimony meetings. So if you do have any young women leaders that couldn't come to camp and do want to come up for camp, they can come that night when it's Bishop's Night. You need to just shoot me a text or an email and let me know. I put together a list for Camp Holy Wild of who's coming onto their property. So I have a list of the bishops and the guest speakers and all that kind of thing. So if you have a young woman leader that you know wants to come, just let me know and I'll add her name to the list. That starts, the bishops already know about it. I've emailed them. I hope they all know about it. I hope they're reading my emails. But that starts at 6 o'clock. So if your young women leaders want to come up, they would be at 6 o'clock, and they would need to already eat dinner. We have dinner very early, and so they need to have dinner before they come. And then we have our activity from 6 to 7:30, and then at 7:30 we have testimony meeting, and that is by ward with your bishop and your ward leaders. So they're welcome to come, and then they would go home after that. Tracy?
I know that in the past bishops have brought treats.
Yes.
Do that?
Yes, so I have emailed them. I emailed them starting back in February with the save the date, and I emailed them last week reminding them and with the directions to Holy Wild, all that information. I let them know we do have some freezers if they need, or refrigerators if they need to put some. One bishop asked if he could bring ice cream sandwiches, which is fine. We have some freezers. And they should know, but it's fine to remind them because bishops have a lot on their plate. So if they need a little remind, that's good. So during all of this activity, at no time during this day should the girls just be hanging out in their cabin. They need to be participating in activities that we have going on at all times. For one thing, that's why they're there. That's why their parents paid the money or they raised the money or whatever to come to campus to be involved in activities. And for a second, there wouldn't be any supervision for them in the cabins. So they need to be participating in the activity. It's part of the YCL's job to engage all the girls. And they're actually usually very good about that, working with each girl individually and making sure they're all engaged. And of course, you guys are great help when you see a girl that's having a hard time or struggling, engaging in activities to kind of helping them out. And then the same thing applies for the leaders as it applies to girls. Everybody that's at camp should be engaged in the activity that's going on. I know that we're tempted sometimes to sit in the back and chat or whatever, but it's 72 hours of nonstop fun, and everybody should participate in every bit of that 72 hours. So we're going to be doing whatever the girls are doing. We don't really have it set up where you guys can leave camp. So once you get there and park your car, it's to stay unless some sort of emergency comes up, and then you can talk to me. Packing list, I sent that out to you guys, and it's also at Cypress Stake Youth. It's posted there. We talked about it at the camp kickoff meeting, and I think it's pretty straightforward. The only thing on there that you might want to check with your girls and see if they all have it is they're supposed to bring a camp chair, and we set them up. We have a big covered pavilion, and we just set them up and leave them there, and that's kind of our gathering spot. So maybe check with your girls and see if you have a couple extra chairs you could bring, or if somebody doesn't have a chair, then you can make sure you have one for them.
Does the bishop need to bring a camp chair? He
does not. We're not going to be at the pavilion with him, so he's going to be on stage the whole time he's there. The rest of the packing list is super straightforward. A couple questions that we always get about the packing list is phones. The girls are allowed to have their phones. They're old enough to know when it's appropriate to have them out and when it's not appropriate to have them out. They go to school, they go to church, they know the times that they're supposed to have it. We'll talk briefly with them at the very first day about that. For the most part, we have never really had any problems. At Beehive Camp, we had phones, and they've had it at youth conference the last couple of years, and they haven't really had any problems with that. If they want to bring their phone and leave it in their suitcase, that's what the YCLs are like. We had no phones, you guys can have no phones. They were all about them having no phones. So if they just want to put it in their suitcase and leave it there, that's fine. If they do have it out, they should be having it out in speakers, devotionals, classes, anytime like that. And if you see somebody that has it out at a time when they're not, just ask them to put it away. If you're having somebody that's like a repeat offender, we might have to take the phone up, but I don't anticipate that being a problem because it hasn't been a problem in the past. Snacks, they're all about the snacks. They're all about the food. They just want to bring all the snacks. And they are welcome to bring their snacks. Camp Holy Wild actually has signs up in the cabin saying no food. But they love their LDS groups that come, and so they allow us to have food in the cabin. So we want to continue with that and not make a big old fat mess. We did have a few cabins that had problems with this in the past. My suggestion to you is to bring some Ziplocs, because they open their bag of chips or their bag of licorice or whatever, and then there's nothing to do with it. So if you have some Ziplocs, you can have them throw it in there and they can put it in their bags, because it is kind of out in there and it will attract ants or things that are worse that we're not going to discuss because I pretend like they're not there. So it will attract bugs.
And there's refrigerators in each cabin?
No, there's only refrigerators, and a couple cabins have refrigerators, but it's really random, so.
The one I was in.
Can't really the one that you were in obviously had a refrigerator last time. But there's only like 2 cabins that have refrigerators in them, so you can't really rely on that. The ward leaders can help us enforce stress standards. We're just doing for the strength of youth standards. We're not doing anything different than for strength of youth. And they need to do that day and night. If you do, we don't have a lot of problems with that. If you do have somebody in your ward that is having a problem with that, I would ask that you speak to them privately and not in front of the other girls. Speak to them very compassionately and ask them to try again. We have a lot of girls that come to camp that are very young. We have 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds at camp. I know we have girls in our ward that only come to camp. It's their only touch with the church their whole year. Sorry. And we have girls that are non-members attending camp. And so I just have such a tender place for them. They're all struggling in their life, and if they're making a bad choice about what they're putting on, we just want to be very compassionate about asking them to change and put on something different. It shouldn't be a shaming or embarrassment to them. I do have some extra shorts. If somebody simply does not have it, they are not pretty. But I do have extra shorts. Tracy.
Sorry, that was one thing that my girls were complaining about the length of the shorts. What, can you tell me exactly?
I cannot tell you. For the strength of youth says no short shorts or no short skirts.
So I
There's
told
no
like short. I said
no short shorts.
Longer than fingertips.
That's good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to say they have to be to their knee, because it doesn't say to their knee for the strength of youth.
Okay.
I don't want to add anything to what our
That's what I said.
prophets have already put out there. But yeah, it says no short shorts. Nikes are pretty short, and so if we see Nike shorts, we're going to ask them to change.
Leggings.
I mean, leggings. Girls wear leggings. I don't have a problem with that. If you and your child think leggings are not appropriate, then don't wear them. If you and your mom do, I'm not going to get in between that. It's hot at camp, and we're going to play kickball and do the zip line and go on a nature hike. We're going to be very active while we're at camp. So, they feel good about that? I feel good about it. Any other questions about packing? Oh, I'm sorry, I had a couple more things. The medications need to become in their original container, and then just put them in a Ziploc with their name and ward on it. And at first check-in, they'll be given to the nurse, and she has a lockbox to put those things up. And so they will come to her to take their medicines morning or night or whatever their schedule is. Yes.
If we have medications,
The adults do not need to give their medications to the nurse.
If I car-
Unless you can't control yourself and you need her to put it in the lockbox, which is fine too, I'm not judging. Yes.
Do you want name, ward, cabin number, or name and ward? or
I think
do you
just
want-
name and ward is fine for what she needs.
Okay.
And then the nurse will take that and have it for the remainder of camp. Did you have a question?
Me?
No, I thought you had a question, you look on your face. I sent out an email today for people that have strict diet requirements. So if they're like gluten-free or vegetarian or vegan, they'll need to bring their own supplemental food if they have strict. So I attached the camp menu for the week, and they also have a salad bar available at lunch and dinner. I sent those to what they registered for on the camp, because I don't know whose email that is. You can't always tell from email if that's the parent or that's the girl. If you know somebody in your ward who's gluten-free or vegetarian or some other restriction, you might just want to check in with them. You can check with me, but I don't have any other way of contacting them other than what they registered for on their camp email. So I don't know if that email went to the girl or went to the mom or dad or whoever it went to. But I did send that out today. So you should have it. Secret Sister gifts. We talked about this at Camp Kickoff and we had a really good turnout, so I think that helped it. And I also sent you guys the list of ideas. So it should be 4 gifts and it should be no more than $5. So like dollar store, Target, dollar spot type items. I have a lot of extra. Basically, you throw it out there and I have extra of it. So I have extra Secret Sister gifts, I have extra flashlights, I have extra shorts, I have some sunglasses, some water bottles. Like I just have accumulated a lot of stuff at camp. So if you get to camp and one of your girls needs something, check with me. I might have it, I might not. But I think talking about it at the kickoff will make all the girls on the same page with Secret Sisters and they'll have it. But I do have like 20 Secret Sister gifts. So if you need something, just come talk to me or something's not happening and you need to just slip something in their mailbox before you can get a chance to sort things out, then just let me know. In the past, we have done Secret Sister among the adults, but that's for you to vote on today. Do you want to do a Secret Sister among the adults, or is that too much to put on your plate? Nobody else can handle anything else.
I thought it was really fun.
Okay, so 1 vote for. So we'll just raise your hands and vote. Raise your hand if you do want to do Secret Sisters among the adults.
Meaning neutral.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Either
5,
way.
6, 7. Okay, raise your hand if you don't want to do it. 2. So I think the yeses carry the day. It is just for fun, so please don't stress about it if it's not your thing. Same requirements, yeah, just little stuff, you know. I'm dying, I'm so hot in here. Okay. Job assignments, we're gonna be subject to change, so I'm not gonna give it out to you today, I'll give it on your first day. But I will say, in general, during the day, you will be assigned to an age group, so 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, or 15-year-olds, and you will do whatever those girls are doing during the day. We have a couple of times where we're gonna, like with the scavenger hunt, where we'll need help, so you might be asked to do something else, but for the most part, so you will do what your age group that you're assigned to is doing. And that's during the day. After dinner, most of our activities are group activities or ward activities. So at that point, you would be with your ward. So when we're having the guest speaker, when we're having Bishop's Night, when we're doing our Sensing Christ activity, stuff like that, it will either all be with a group or it would be with your ward. So kind of breakfast till dinner, you're with your age group. Dinner till breakfast the next morning, you're with your ward. Does that make sense? I think that's all about that. I'm going to ask Diana if she wants to speak to us about youth protection training for a minute, and make sure to video that too.
Yeah.
If I have to do it, you have to do it.
How many have you done their YPT training? It's okay. It's okay. I just barely did mine before I got here. So, I just want to cover a couple of things. I just want to reiterate, you really need to follow what's on that. I can't stress how important it is that we do what that training is, but I want to add a couple extra things that sadly have occurred at our camps before. So we're going to cover the bases. Lots of times rules are made from past experiences, and we've gone to camp enough to have had a lot of past experiences. So, number 1, no girls at any time in the same shower. I know that sounds funny, even with swimsuits. A lot of times, we'll tell them put their swimsuits on, hop in the shower together. That is not allowed under any circumstance. No girls in the same shower, even with swimsuits on. Number 2, no laying down ever on a bed. Girls love to lay down on the bed and chit-chat like this. They may sit up on the bed and they may chit-chat. They may never lay down on a bed together. You coming in? Along those lines, and this is just something you're going to have to be aware of in the wards, girls love to talk at night. That's like their favorite thing. The lights will go out and they want to get and talk to their best little friend. And I'm guaranteeing that every one of this is going to happen to you. They're going to lay down and it's totally innocent. They're talking and they're going to fall asleep.
In the same bed.
In the same bed. You have to get up after you've gone to sleep, everything's fine. You have to get and monitor that. That is just not allowed. There is no 1 laying down, that's already bad. 2, just falling asleep. They'll be talking in the same bed and they're all going to fall over and fall asleep and they're laying down. just, it can't happen. So please, please, please monitor that. Completely innocent, I'm aware. For some of those girls, it's not completely innocent. So please, it has to be a blanket rule. On that same line, sometimes we go to, the speaker and they're gonna bring a blanket and they're gonna be cold in that room. They may not be under the same blanket together. There's none of that. They can have their own blanket, their own rule. No sharing blankets. Okay, the next one involves you, and that is, you may not change your clothes in front of these girls. You may not, they are changing in front of each other, that's fine. You need to go somewhere else and change. There's no just walking around in your garments, talking to the girls. I know y'all laugh, but it's happened before. And we just can't go there. If you were at a school activity, if your kids went on a band camp, and they were in the hotel with the chaperone, and that chaperone was walking around in their underwear, you would be upset. The same rules apply. We have to be modest with them and even go a step above what they're doing with each other. We need to change somewhere else, and no walking around in our garments, ever. We just have to be private that way. I think that's what I was supposed to cover.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Don't look at me.
Well, there was more. You
No,
need to tell
that
me.
was all.
I'm curious, so are these rules communicated to the girls and we're enforcing it, or do we need to tell them? Like, I'm just curious how you go about saying.
I'm happy to do that too. Usually it's an occurrence like, you're gonna catch those girls all run into the shower and I can do it beforehand. Lots of times I don't wanna put things in their mind either. So I think it's mainly up
I just
to
mean if two
you.
girls lay down on the bed, it's like, and you go, hey, you guys, then they're like.
I
"Hi,
can't
let's
do the
They're
bit
like,
that one. It's just kind of, and I tell you, my girls, I've had 3 girls and my one daughter, that's the dumbest rule. Why can't I lay, like they're totally innocent. I'm like, you're innocent, but somebody else isn't. They just need to understand that. Yeah, so we can go over that rule. Yeah. But I would actually prefer not to be honest, for a variety of reasons. I'm gonna leave that up to you. If you need me to, I will. Yes.
So the girls can be changing together and
Yeah, they can change together. That's whatever.
They
They're
are
in
most
locker
of them.
rooms all the time.
Most of them don't. The restrooms, there's toilets with doors, like restrooms, and then there's showers that have curtains across it, and they have a
all the
little.
way across, because I had a lot of comments from our girls, I'm like, what else do I need to know? And there were several that, I think did Beehive Camp last year, that was like, the shower curtains did not cover.
That was Beehive Camp, and we are at a different facility than
Okay,
Beehive
okay.
Camp.
See, I just-
But they are curtains, and it's very stressful for some girls.
You can bring clothespins or tape, if that's something you needed, like that blue tape that they can do that.
Yeah, but most of them change either in the restroom or in the shower room, like
Or they make
the majority of
or
them
they make
do.
like the giant
Big
blanket around their
tent.
bum.
Yeah, I was gonna say last time, a lot of girls wanted to change, I had an extra sheet, so we made a
Yeah.
makeshift cover so they could step behind it and
Yes.
change it.
Like a
Yes,
changing room.
exactly.
Yes.
And that's
Exactly.
a great idea, it really
Yeah.
is. But once again, these girls are in the locker room at school together all the time. I'm not as concerned about them as I am about, well, and let me just go over this. Too deep leadership at all time. I cannot stress to you that at all times, too deep leadership. If you have a crisis and something happens and somebody needs to leave, you better make sure there's another leader with those people that you're leaving. There needs to be too deep, and you need to have another person with you with that person that you're leaving with.
I was
Yes.
gonna say, the girls are required to be 2 or more, or 3,
So,
are they 3?
so my part of the YPT is the girl, we always say U+2. So the
That's
girls
right,
are not
okay.
allowed to go anywhere without 3 girls.
Yes.
It's actually not good for them to be just 2,
So it's rule of 3 for everybody.
sadly.
Yes, yes.
But it's a rule of 3 for everyone.
Rule of 3 for everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
So for the girls' end of it, we will talk about buddy system, and it's U+2, and so they're never supposed to go anywhere without groups of 3. So even the YCLs are not to be going somewhere with 1 girl. They're not supposed to be going somewhere with 1 leader. There should always be a group. There should be at least 3 in the group. So if the YCL needs to bring someone to the nurse or something like that, they'll bring a buddy with them, and so that there's either 2 YCLs or 2 girls, or there'll be at least 3 in the group at all times. And then the adults, same thing.
And even that, they try and,
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like, I forgot my
Sooner
shoes.
on
I'm
that
just gonna
one.
run back to the couch,
Yeah.
and they're gonna try it. But the rule, and I do talk to them on the first day of camp about that, is they're always supposed to go somewhere in groups of 3 and never by themselves, and actually not with 2. I want to make sure I covered everything on that. And then the YPT training, the youth protection training that's online, it's a certificate that looks like this. Katie, I'm gonna use yours. It's blue, and I know some people have some problems with it. You take the class, and then it takes a minute to like update. So mine emailed it to me, I took mine yesterday, it emailed it to me in about 2 hours. You can also log back into the Scouting's website, because that website is so much fun to be on, and you can go in under your training and find the certificate. But this is the certificate I need, because it has your name on it and the class. So I know some people have sent me like screenshots of the finished stuff, but that doesn't have your name on it, so I can't really count that. So this is the certificate that you need.
And it takes a couple days to show up, or?
No, it says on there that it can take up to 48 hours, but mine came to me in like 2. So, I mean, it can take up to 48 hours, but it didn't take for that long. So on that note, yes?
Mine did.
Yours did take 40 hours?
It did take 2
Okay.
days to do.
So on that note, I mean, this is the state of Texas law. I can give you the statute, the Texas Health and Safety Code if you want it, but no adult can be at camp without this. So you need to get it to me before camp starts, because if you come to camp and you don't have this, I can't let you be there with the girls. And that's out of my hands from both the camp, Holywell, because they can lose their license, and for the state of Texas. So, and because it does take a couple hours to be done, you know, you can't just go to your car and take it, because it might take 2 days for the certificate to come through. So I know it's a pain. My computer kept like the videos, kept not downloading. It took like forever. It's supposed to only take about 45 minutes. But it is a really good training. They've updated it in recent years. And we actually are really blessed, because we used to have to do a live. The Texas used to require, if it was 2 more days, to have a live training, and now they accept the online. So we're way lucky that we can do that in our house whenever we have a minute, instead of having to go to the live training. So that is good. The youth camp leaders. So our YCLs have been amazing this year. We have been working with them since January. They have I don't know if all you guys know this, but they totally revamped the camp program, just like they have almost all the programs. And one of the new tenets is that it's youth driven. And these girls have really stepped up to the plate. They have planned almost every detail of camp, from the theme on down to the activities we're doing every day. They have strong opinions. They're not afraid to tell you their opinions. And they are really stepped up and been leaders. It was their idea to do the camp kickoff. We've not done that before in a lot of years. They wanted to do that. They wanted to meet their girls ahead of time. And they do a great job. So they will be in a cabin themselves, so they won't be in your ward cabin. There's a big cabin that the YCL sleep in, and each of them are assigned a group of 3 to 5 girls that they're in charge of, and they will be staying with them and checking in with them throughout camp. Some of the girls volunteered to do nightly devotionals in your cabin for just your ward, and I have the schedule of that if you want to see it, but I have sent it out to them, and they always do a great job with their nightly devotionals. They have the schedule and they have the topics as well. Decorations for the cabin, we already talked about that. A couple quick reminders. It's kind of tradition to do like a camp item for your ward. I sent out an email about that. Bandanas, t-shirts, shorts, shoes, like whatever it is. It's totally optional and you don't have to do it, but a lot of people do like a ward thing. I just don't want you to get up to camp and say, why didn't I know about this? If you have any changes to your registration, please let me know right away. It does continue to flux a little bit right up to the end. We had a couple girls add this week. And that, just because we have, I think this is gonna be our biggest camp. We're gonna have 200 people there. And so we have about 178 girls. And the cabins, have how many beds they have. And if your registration changes a lot, we might have to switch you to a different cabin, if that makes sense. So just let me know. We can deal with it. We know that we want them to be there rather than not be there. We will take them up until the last day if we can fit them. The only thing I can't guarantee them is the right size t-shirt. I do have extra t-shirts, but if they want a medium, they might have to have a large or something like that if they're registering late. Does anybody have any questions for me, or did I skip anything? Yes.
This is my first state camp. So are there any times during the day where we are inside?
Yes.
Is
So
I can't do that all day, I promise you, I will be around.
the cabins have AC, and we have a chapel. It's a multi-purpose room, and we have a smaller room that we use for our craft room, and those all have AC. They're not like frigidly cold, but they do have AC, and some of our activities throughout the day will be there. As many activities in chapel as possible is my personal philosophy.
They'll do some inside and out.
So some of will be inside and some will be outside, yeah. And we try to rotate them. And we do, the camp has you have the consent form, it has a zip line and what's called a giant swing. The girls love that. We do that first thing in the morning when it's not so hot. And our activities in the afternoon are more inside, except for the pool where you can get wet. And so we try to do our hotter outside activities in the morning. Yes.
Are there any times where it's downtime where we might need to have a little activity?
Yeah, I did skip that. Most of that will fall to the YCLs. Like, for example, if they're going to the zip line and they finish a little bit early and we're still, the group is switching, the YCLs are in charge of playing games with the girls and entertaining with them. They actually decided to do their first aid in that manner, so they all have their first aid to teach the girls, and they're going to teach them in their 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. They have like 4 topics that they're going to cover. So majority of the time they will do that. The one exception to that is if it rains, and if y'all could just start putting in your prayers right now. If it rains, most of the activities we can still do if they're inside or whatever. We can walk outside in the rain, that's fine, but like the zip line we can't do if it's raining. If it's lightning, we can't be in the pool. So I would suggest you just bring like maybe a couple games, spoons, or Pictionary or whatever you might want to bring in case we have unexpected events. So unless something goes wrong, you shouldn't have to entertain them. You shouldn't have to have any downtime, but things happen. The bottom line is you all have to be really flexible with me because moving 200 people from point A to point B and then back again is a lot of moving parts, and it's not going to be exactly as what's outlined on the schedule. It takes as long as it takes, and I don't know how long it takes until we did it. So we do have to be flexible. But the majority of the time, the girls will take up the slack for that, any downtime here and there.
And then same with the devotionals at night, that's the YCLs.
The YCLs do the devotionals, all the devotionals at night, and they do a great job. I'm missing one ward that has video, but all the rest of the wards have volunteered and filled up. And they have a remind that they joined when they've been coming to the YCL meetings, hopefully. I have like 2 or 3 girls that aren't on the remind, but all the rest of them are. And so I've been reminding them now that school's out that they can work on their camp devotionals and their camp projects. They're so happy for me to explain them things on the first day out of school.
Just power strips, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Bring power strips to plug things in. That was something.
This is the first time I've had phones at camp. Last year we had beehive camp, and it was a much smaller thing, and a lot of the beehives didn't bring their phones. But there's this Camp Holy Wild was built in the 1950s, and it has not been updated since 1950s. It's not palatial. It has beds and it has AC. But it doesn't have a lot of power outlets and things like that. If the girls are wanting to charge their phones, there's not going to be a lot of space for that unless you bring like some power strips or something for them to do that. But I told the girls at Beehive Camp, like the leaders get the outlets first, right? Like, we need to have our phones to communicate with each other and be, back and forth. And there's not great, there's not Wi-Fi at the camp. So for the girls that need Wi-Fi, they don't have that there. So.
And what time is Friday pickup?
So Friday, we will be done by 10 o'clock. That's give or take. Holy Wild is pretty good. The only thing we need to do is we just need to pick up our belongings, and then they ask us to vacuum. So we don't need to clean the bathrooms or anything else. And I assign each ward an area to, you go to the pavilion, you go to the cafeteria, and kind of just pick up anything that might be there and bring it to me. Make sure we're not leaving any stuff behind. But Friday morning is just Secret Sister reveal and pack on up. Penny?
Is there a specific time that lights are out, and how strict do you need to be with that?
I put on the schedule that lights are out at 11 o'clock. Because I am not in your cabins, I'm not gonna tell you that you have to do it at 11. I'm not coming to check at 11:01 to see that your lights are out.
I'm ready at 9.
72 hours, Penny. 72 hours. You can do it. to get back up and check beds. You know, if you go to sleep, that's fine, and then set that. You know, some of the girls are gonna wanna stay up all night partying, some of the girls are gonna wanna go to bed, so that's one of the really great things about being a cabin as a ward, is you know your girls, and you can kind of broker a compromise between them. I know the YCLs in our ward, they put the bed to early on one side of the cabin, and bed late on the other side of the cabin. They don't even do it by age, they put it up how they think people will sleep, because they know they've been around these girls for a while. I don't know if that helps, but that's what they do.
And there is a common area, which is nice.
Yes, and there is a common area, but you want to shut things down, so usually what I say to them is you have to be in your bed. To be in your bed, I can't make you go to sleep. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, can't make him sleep.
The girls make each other go to sleep too.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah,
You're
you
tired.
shush each other, yeah.
We had the common area, and then you have the two different wards, so you kind of have to work with the other ward, and in fact, we were together.
You're pointing
and,
at me?
So we teamed up, like, I'm an early riser, and my friend was late, and so she did the late night partying, and we promoted it. The girls, we have, like, glow in the dark
That was
party.
fun.
And, but the ward we teamed with was on board, and so we went and slept, although 2D leadership, I understand
We
that.
swapped the girls around. Yeah.
We made it we said there are girls that wanna go to sleep, so you had, but it wasn't a problem. When you shut those doors and the girls can go to sleep, the girls that stayed up all night, and it's their favorite memory ever, the Williams.
That's just the last night,
Just the last night.
Yeah, the last night, I will say that, the first and second night, we're more encouraging them to go to sleep because they get so tired by the end. The last night, they want to stay up late. They want to stay up late so bad. They want to pull a night-nighter. They want to do that last night. So the first two nights aren't going to be as, the last night is where you really got to kind of figure out what you're okay with because that's what they want to stay up the last night.
One other question.
Yes, please. I mean, I know a lot of you guys, this is the first time at camp, so.
Yeah. So, YCLs, they're not allowed to drive themselves down, correct?
No. This comes up, I look to Diana because this comes up a lot at youth conference and things like that. The church instructions say that youth are not to drive themselves.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
That's what the church says.
So is 10 o'clock on Friday the time that we're leaving, or the time when you're like finishing?
That would be the time we're leaving. So we have breakfast at 8, and then they eat, and then we're having a secret sister reveal, and then they'll go back to their cabin and clean up and pack.
Pull out at
So-
10.
Carpoolers should be there around 10, yeah. And you might be a couple minutes early, and you might have to wait, or they might have to wait a few minutes, because I don't know how messy y'all are gonna be in your cabin, and how much time you're gonna need to pick that cabin up. But we're shooting for 10.
Is there a certain time we have to be out, like we have to vacate that camp?
No,
by
because
11?
they don't have anybody coming in on Saturday, so.
But we want to go home.
But we wanna go home.
Yeah.
Because I don't sleep at camp. And so, and everybody's ready to go home and be out of there, so. And we don't have a lot of jobs, they make it very easy for us, it's very nice. And like I said, it's from the 50s, and it's not a beautiful situation as far as the cabins are going and the bathrooms are going, but it's better than tent camping. But the people at Holy Wild, this is what they do for their church. There are full-time employees that work there, the camp director and a few other full-time employees, but the rest of them are volunteers. So the people that serve us our food are volunteers, and the people that help us on the zip line and lifeguard at the pool are all volunteers. So they're doing this as part of their church outreach and service. This is how they make money for their church, and so they're volunteers just like us. They make it easy for us, and we want to make it easy back for them. Tracy?
I was just gonna say, just a tip, if anybody's weird like me. They have couches like in the common area, and I always bring sheets to put over the couches for the girls to lay on, because that really grosses me out.
They are.
I let you guys know, that's what I did.
They are gross.
Yeah, I mean, think 1950s, that's what everything there is. It's been around. Yeah, it's been around, but it fits all of us all together, and the price is right, and it's close, and
They're good people.
And they're good people.
Oh, yes.
They are kind, good people. Definitely. Any other questions?
Any like words of advice for people who this is their first time and?
Just enjoy the girls. I mean, it's about them.
Bring what?
Bug stuff.
Plug stuff.
It's about the girls, that's why we do this, and so just enjoy this and enjoy the time with them, and just don't worry about anything else, just enjoy them. I mean, Diana, I stress out, but Diana always tells me, it doesn't matter if it pours rain the whole time and we just sit in the cabin and braid each other's hair, they're gonna have a good time. They just wanna be together. And I did that survey, some of you guys weren't called, but back in January I did a survey, and the top #1 thing they wanted to do was be with their friends. That's what they want to do, they want to be with their friends. And with all the ward shakeups and the changes in curriculum and everything that we've had going on since January, they need time with each other. That's what they're missing right now.
And I think it's important to note that they make really good friends,
Yeah.
like new friends at the camp, because they spend time they interact with the wards, and I know that's really impacted my kids' lives, so camp is great.
Thank you.
State camp
We
is
think
great
so,
because
too.
it's best of both worlds. They get to meet friends in the stake, but yet they get to go back and have ward time. And so it really is a unique opportunity for these girls to make friends in the stake, but yet be strengthened by their ward. So I really like state camp for that reason.
Yes, me too.
Don't let them go. Are you kind of done? Because I want to, we need to talk about 2020. I hate to say it.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that. Tracy has one more question.
Yes.
I forgot.
Yeah, question girl here. Do you have, what's the theme?
The theme is Stand for Truth and Righteousness. It's STAR. So it's all about
My son was
stars.
so cute today. I said, I need to talk about camp. I need to know some things. She goes, I can't tell you. anything."
That is a girl after my own heart. I love her.
It was so cute.
That is so cute.
Yeah, that's our theme, and we have 2 scriptures. We have Psalms 147:4 and Doctrine and Covenants 115:5.
Say those again.
Psalms 147:4, he telleth the number of the stars, and he calleth them all by their name. And Doctrine and Covenants 115:5, verily I say unto you, arise and shine forth, that thy light may be a standard to the nations.
What was the Psalms again?
What was Psalms again?
147:4.
Okay, 140.
I can text it to you right now to have everybody's remind, if you want. Any other questions? Diana wants to talk about camp in 2020.
Well, along with you, actually, I want to say one thing about this. And, we've done this a lot, been to youth conference a lot. I know as adults, it's